You're tuned in to the English Up Podcast.
Brought to you by the Speak English with Us.
7 tabs open, 3 drafts started, 2 messages sent, and your report? Still online 1.
That's not a work day. That's a traffic jam inside your own brain.
If that sounds familiar, you're in exactly the right place. This is English Up Podcast, and I'm Emma.
And I'm Alex. This is a B1 level episode, perfect for intermediate learners. Beginners, you're welcome too. We keep it clear, we keep it fast.
Today's topic hits hard, because almost every one of us does this every single day. You sit down to do one thing, and somehow end up doing 6 things badly instead of 1 thing well.
And here's the number that should wake you up. Research shows that after every task switch, your brain needs an average of 23 minutes to get back into deep focus. 23 minutes. Gone. Every single time. Every single time.
23 minutes just to recover? That means if you switch tasks 3 times before lunch, you've already lost over an hour of real productive time without even noticing.
Exactly, and most people switch tasks dozens of times a day. The math is brutal.
So here's your quick question, and we want a fast answer, no thinking aloud. Which one are you right now, type A? You have more than 5 tabs open as you listen to this. Or type B, you closed everything and you're fully focused. Drop your answer in the comments, A or B. Go.
I already know most of you are type A, and that's okay. That's why we're here.
Today we're breaking down something called the single thread method. It's a 2-step system that cuts through the parallel chaos and turns your scattered energy into a clean chain of finished work.
And we're going to show you exactly how to use it, with real steps, real numbers, and 0 fluff.
Stay until the end for our word tour, 5 high-value expressions pulled straight from today's episode. These are words that'll make you sound sharper in any professional conversation.
And later, we'll give you one tiny but powerful shift that could change how you work starting tomorrow. But first,
wherever you're listening right now, on your commute, at your desk, or, yes, with 7 tabs open in the background, we're glad you're here. Let's get into it.
let me paint you a picture. It's 9 a.m. You open your laptop. You have one job: finish the project proposal. Clean goal. Simple enough.
Sounds manageable. What happens next?
You open the document, then your phone buzzes, you glance at it, just a quick look, and you reply to one message. Then you remember you need a specific number for the proposal, so you open a new tab to search for it.
And then that tab leads to another tab.
Obviously. Because while searching, you spot an article that looks relevant. You open it. Then you see an email notification. It feels urgent, so you switch over. You draft a reply. Halfway through, you realize you need to check a file first. You go find the file. The file reminds you of another task you forgot about.
And 40 minutes later, the proposal is still on line 1.
40 minutes. Zero progress. That's not laziness. That's what researchers call context switching. Every time you jump from one task to another, your brain doesn't just pause and resume, it has to fully reload. Like closing an app and reopening it from scratch every single time.
And that reloading cost, it adds up fast. You don't feel it happening, but by the end of the day, you're exhausted and you can't even point to what you actually finished.
Right. And here's where it gets worse. Most people think the solution is to work faster or try harder, but the real bottleneck isn't your speed, it's your workflow design. You've built a system that forces your brain to restart constantly.
So it's not a focus problem, it's a structure problem.
Exactly. Think about a factory assembly line. If one station keeps stopping to help 3 other stations at the same time, nothing moves forward. The bottleneck isn't the workers, it's the broken sequence.
And that's what happens in your brain every morning. You're trying to run 3 assembly lines at once, and all of them stall.
Now here's the part that surprised me when I first looked at this. Studies on workplace productivity show that the average knowledge worker gets interrupted, or self-interrupts, every 3 to 5 minutes. Every 3 to 5 minutes. And each interruption triggers that 23-minute recovery window we mentioned.
So theoretically, if you get interrupted just 3 times in a morning, you've already burned through the entire morning's deep focus capacity.
And most people aren't getting interrupted 3 times. They're getting interrupted 30 times. The math is genuinely painful.
What makes it worse is that a lot of these interruptions are self-generated. You get sidetracked not because someone pulled you away, but because your own brain spotted something shiny and chased it.
The browser tab is basically a shiny object factory.
So the problem isn't willpower. It's that nobody ever taught us how to protect a single thread of work from start to a real deliverable and actual finished output, not just time spent on something.
And that word, deliverable, is key. Most people set time-based goals. I'll work on this for 30 minutes. But 30 minutes of scattered work produces nothing you can actually use. A deliverable is a concrete endpoint. I'll finish the introduction paragraph. Done means done.
And once you shift from time-based to output-based thinking, your whole relationship with momentum changes. You start finishing things, and finishing one thing makes it easier to start the next.
And by the way, there's a phrase for what kills that momentum before it even starts. It's called context switching. We'll break it down properly in our word tour later. So here's the fix. The single thread method. 2 steps. No complicated system, no expensive app. Step 1. At any given moment, only one task gets the status of active. Everything else, every idea, every reminder, oh, I should also, goes into a single capture note. You write it down, you close it, and you don't touch it until your active task hits its deliverable.
So instead of chasing every thought the moment it appears, you're basically parking it. I see you, I'll get to you, but not now.
Exactly. And step 2, before you start any task, you define its completion signal. Not, I'll work on this for a while. You define a specific, concrete deliverable. I'll write the introduction paragraph. I'll finish the budget table. I'll send that one email with the attached file. When you hit that point, and only that point, the task is done.
That second step is the one most people skip. They start working without a finish line, so they never actually cross one.
Right. And when you combine both steps, something shifts. You stop accumulating half-finished work. You start building a chain of completed outputs. That chain creates momentum, and momentum is what makes the next task feel easier instead of heavier.
Okay, but I want to push back on this a little. Because in real life, most of us don't work alone. We're in teams. We have managers pinging us. We have clients who expect fast replies. If I'm deep in a task and someone needs an answer, I can't just say, sorry, single threading right now.
That's a fair point. But here's the distinction. There's a difference between a genuine urgent interruption and a perceived urgent interruption. Most messages that feel urgent aren't. A reply that takes 4 hours instead of 4 minutes rarely causes a real crisis.
But what if your manager doesn't see it that way? What if the culture at your workplace expects instant responses? You can't just opt out of that.
You're right that you can't always control the culture, but you can control your windows. The method doesn't say never respond, it says batch your responses. You set 2 or 3 fixed response windows per day. Outside those windows, notifications are off and your active task stays active.
I've tried turning off notifications before. It lasted about 2 days before I caved. Because the anxiety of not knowing what's coming in, that itself becomes a distraction.
That anxiety is real, and it's actually a trained response. Your brain has learned to associate checking messages with a small dopamine hit. So the absence of checking feels uncomfortable, but that discomfort fades within a week of consistent practice. It's not a character flaw. It's just a habit that needs retraining.
Okay, but here's my second pushback. Some tasks genuinely require parallel thinking. If I'm writing a report, I might need to cross-reference 3 different documents at the same time. That's not context switching for the sake of distraction. That's just how complex work functions.
That's a really important distinction, and I'm glad you raised it. Cross-referencing within a single task is not context switching. You're still working toward one deliverable. The problem is when you're mid-report and you suddenly start drafting a completely separate email, or you jump to a different project because something reminded you of it. That's the switch that costs you the 23 minutes.
So the rule isn't only one document open. It's only one outcome being actively pursued.
Exactly. You can have 10 tabs open if all 10 tabs are serving the same deliverable. The moment you open a tab for a different task, that's when you get sidetracked and the clock resets.
But here's my third issue with this. You're describing an ideal scenario where you have full control over your schedule. What about people who are constantly pulled into meetings, last-minute requests, shifting priorities? For them, the bottleneck isn't focus. It's that their entire day is already spoken for before they even sit down.
That's the hardest case, and I won't pretend the method solves a broken organizational structure. But even in that environment, there's usually at least one 45-minute window somewhere in the day. One window. And if you protect that one window with a single active task and a defined deliverable, you will finish at least one real thing per day. That's not nothing. That's often more than most people in that environment finish in a week.
One protected window. That actually feels doable. Not a complete lifestyle overhaul, just one window.
And that's the entry point. You don't start by restructuring your entire workflow. You start by finding one slot, protecting it, and proving to yourself that the method works. Once you see the result, once you feel what it's like to actually finish something cleanly, you'll want to expand it.
So the goal isn't perfection. It's one clean completion per day, and you build from there.
One completion creates momentum. Momentum makes the next one easier. And before long, you've gone from 7 open tabs and 0 finished work to a day where things actually get done.
And the people around you start to notice too. Because finished work is visible. Half-finished work is invisible. It just sits there, quietly draining your energy.
That's the real cost of context switching that nobody talks about. It's not just the lost time, it's the psychological weight of carrying 20 unfinished things. Every open loop takes up mental space, even when you're not actively thinking about it.
So closing loops. Actually finishing things isn't just a productivity win, it's a mental health win.
100%. And it starts with one task, one deliverable, one protected window. That's the whole system.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. The chaos, the cost, the fix.
And now it's time for the part that makes it all stick. Our word tour.
5 expressions we use today. Real words, real contexts, real professional English.
Context switching, bottleneck, deliverable, momentum, and get sidetracked.
These aren't textbook words. They're the words that sharp professionals actually use.
Let's break them down.
Let's go back to that moment Alex described, 9 a.m., one goal, and somehow 40 minutes later nothing's done. The word that captures exactly what happened there is context switching.
Context switching. It sounds technical, but it just means jumping between different tasks or mental modes. Every jump has a cost. Your brain has to unload one context and reload another. It's not instant, it's expensive.
And you can use it in so many real situations. Like, I try to avoid context switching during my morning block, or in a meeting. The reason this project is slow is too much context switching across the team.
It's one of those phrases that immediately signals you understand how productivity actually works. People notice when you use it correctly.
Now, connected to that, remember when Alex used the word bottleneck? He said the real bottleneck isn't your speed, it's your workflow design.
Right. A bottleneck is the one point in a system where everything slows down or gets stuck, like a literal bottle. The neck is narrow, so even if the bottle is full, liquid can only come out so fast.
And in work terms, the bottleneck might be a slow approval process, or one person who has to sign off on everything, or in our case today, a brain that keeps restarting because of constant switching.
You'll hear this one a lot in professional settings. We need to identify the bottleneck before we scale. Or, the bottleneck right now is the review stage. Nothing moves until that's fixed.
It's a word that shifts the conversation from blame to diagnosis. Instead of, why is this person slow, you ask, where is the bottleneck? Much more useful.
Which brings us to deliverable. This one is huge. A deliverable is a specific, concrete output, something you can actually hand over or point to and say, this is done.
Not, I worked on the report, but I completed the executive summary section. That second one is a deliverable. It has a clear finish line.
In professional English, you'll hear, what are the deliverables for this project? Or, I need 3 deliverables from you by Friday. It replaces vague words like stuff or work with something precise and accountable.
And once you start hitting deliverables consistently, that's when momentum kicks in.
Momentum. Such a satisfying word. It means the force that keeps something moving forward. And in work, it means that finishing one thing makes starting the next thing feel easier and faster.
We've all felt the opposite of momentum, that heavy, stuck feeling when you haven't finished anything all day and every task feels like climbing a wall.
I know that feeling very personally. It's not fun.
But momentum works the other way too. Once I finished that first task, I had so much momentum, I knocked out 3 more. Or, we need a quick win to build momentum on this project.
It's a word that captures energy and direction at the same time. Very natural in both casual and professional conversations.
And our last one, probably the most relatable of all 5, get sidetracked.
Of this one. To get sidetracked means to lose focus on your main goal because something else pulled your attention away. The sidetrack is literally a path that leads you away from where you were going.
I was supposed to finish the slides, but I got sidetracked by emails. Sorry I'm late. I got sidetracked on the way here. It works for big distractions and small ones.
And it's honest without being dramatic. It doesn't say I failed. It just says something pulled me off course. Very useful phrase for professional conversations where you need to explain a delay without over-apologizing.
So there they are. Context switching, bottleneck, deliverable, momentum, get sidetracked. 5 words that don't just sound smart. They help you think more clearly about how work actually flows.
Use them this week. In a meeting, in an email, in a conversation with a colleague. That's how they stick.
So let's bring it all together. Today we talked about why your brain struggles when you're juggling 7 things at once, and why the solution isn't trying harder. It's designing smarter.
The single thread method. 2 steps. 1 active task at a time with a defined deliverable as your finish line. That's it. No app required.
And if you're walking away with just 3 things today, make it these. First, every time you switch tasks, you're paying a 23-minute tax. That cost is real, even when you can't feel it happening.
Second, stop setting time-based goals. "I'll work on this for 30 minutes" produces nothing you can point to. Set output-based goals instead. "I'll finish this one section." That's a deliverable. That's something real.
And third, find one protected window today. Just one. 45 minutes, notifications off. One task, one finish line. See what happens. I think you'll surprise yourself.
Honestly, the first time I tried this properly, I finished something I'd been working on for 3 days. In 40 minutes. It was embarrassing how simple it was.
That's the thing. It's not complicated. It's just different from what most of us have been doing by default.
And once you feel that momentum, once you actually close a loop and move on cleanly, you won't want to go back to the chaos.
Before you go, we want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what's the one task you keep starting but never finishing? The one that's been sitting on your list for way too long?
We read every single comment. Name it. Put it out there. Sometimes just saying it out loud is the first step toward actually finishing it.
Thanks for listening to English Up Podcast. We'll see you in the next one.
Keep finishing things. Bye for now.